I have no idea what I'm doing right now. Just saying, for at least for us initially, it was a bit of a challenge getting communication right. But then we've kind of made it work. No one ever prepares you like this is how you should work remotely and all of that. It's their right to know things also. It's their right to ask questions of you.
They want their story to be heard, and we are of course going to help them. But then they also have this barrier whether are we getting their story.
It all boils down to just experiences, human experiences.
So it's kind of the agency's job to kind of get it, break that ice.
Welcome to the It's Rendering podcast. We'll talk about crafting thoughtful experiences. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Shubham, and let's discuss something about remote working.
Yeah, dude, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at our team,
Yeah.
everyone's standing in different places, but everyone's from different places of the country, right? You're from Pune, which is 2,000 kilometers from where I'm from, more than that, in fact.
Yeah.
And then, you've got people from Kerala, you've got people from pretty much every part of the country. And it's always a challenge making that happen. Yes,
Especially in a creative team, like when we are doing something new and audio-visual related, which requires some sort of precision and delicate creative inputs all the time, and a lot of communication.
Yeah, yet we make it happen.
Yet.
I mean, not without our challenges. I mean, I'm just saying, for at least for us initially, it was a bit of a challenge getting communication right. But then we've kind of made it work. And now we're able to educate others and help other people. Like, okay, this is how you make create. Like right now we're working on a project where they have never worked with any team remotely, right? And so now we're having to teach them even how to make agendas, how to even communicate, what sort of tools to use, all of these things. And we never thought we'd be in that position, right? Because,
Right.
I mean, frankly, from our perspective, we are still learning, right? So I don't know what your experience was, but initially for me it was a little frustrating. It's like, dude, why can't everyone just figure this out?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, because you have something in your mind and you want to translate it, but then you don't have the usual mediums to express what you are thinking in your head, which is much easier when you are in person in front of someone. And then the other thing is when you're working on the same project, but from far different locations, file transfers or even like simple reviews sometimes can take much longer because you're doing iteration and then you're sending a screenshot to that person over WhatsApp.
I mean, we're still figuring that out.
We're still
We
figuring
don't
that
know our
out, but
tools and
it's
all of
the
that,
part of the process.
But I think that's where the pandemic kind of helped, positives and negatives. But then we are never prepared for it, right? I mean, even when we were working, like we worked together before we actually worked on together as a team.
Yep.
And that was a different dynamic.
Yeah.
But then no one ever prepares you like this is how you should work remotely and all of that. It's always like, okay, this is how things are. This is how it goes. Figure it out.
Yep.
And then when you have to figure it out, it's like, whoa, I have no idea what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And that's been very awkward, I think, because now you are helping others also on the team. So I don't know what it's been like for you, but for me, it's like, okay, I actually need to it's exhausting in some ways,
Yep.
especially when clients don't get it. And I don't know about you, but I should not be naming country names, but there are certain kinds of clients who just don't get remote work.
Yep.
They don't understand how all of this works, because for us it's different fields, right? It's not just like, okay, we're not just doing video production, we are producing podcasts, and that is not just doing the recording the video or editing the video. It's the entire thing. Like, you'll know this, you write scripts, you figure out what sort of strategies to use for social media. We do help with branding, we help build brands, in fact, get them online, get them going, and also get them growing in many ways, social media, all of that. You switch roles also, and that's something that people don't understand.
Yeah, especially clients, because they want their story to be heard, and we are of course going to help them. But then they also have this barrier whether are we getting their story, and for that, when a team is remote, they might find it a bit difficult. So it's kind of the agency's job to kind of get it, break that ice, I would say, and that translates to everything.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we have to get our tool set and our processes in place properly. That's something we've been figuring out. I mean, it's been a year, I think,
Yeah,
November,
more than a
right?
year.
Yeah. We've been trying to figure that process out and get those SOPs in place and get all of those things in place. Like, okay, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is why we do it. Because that's a very big thing, right? I mean, for us, it's the whole point of crafting thoughtful experiences is the why of it.
Yep.
And we've been discussing this over the last few days. It all boils down to just experiences, human experiences at the end of the day. And if we don't know that, how are we going to help someone else?
Correct.
And that's why there's always a push within the team, and there's this kind of tension also, right? Because it's like, okay, some people like, okay, I'm just gonna figure it out, but then others are like, I mean, like myself, I'm a little too harsh on everyone. You'll know this more than anyone else, but that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, and when we are making experiences for someone else, the tools that we use also need to translate some experience for ourselves. So the tools, if we are just going by like the basics, then if we are using Google Meet, then Google Meet will present its own challenges that a creative team cannot overcome. So we need to find more tools, and we've been doing that. We did that quite a lot initially.
Yeah.
We tried different tools because uh, each software has its own limitation also. Like if we are using Zoom, we can share audio, but if we are using Google Meet, we can't share, we couldn't share system audio when we are dealing with audio work especially. So
Yeah.
we had to search a lot and scroll through a lot of websites and tools to
Yeah.
get things right now.
And I'm going to be stereotypical, but as Indians, we're always looking for the best bargain, right? We
Yeah.
we expect a lot, but for free. And then when Zoom, you have to pay when you're a team of this size, like it's 10 people, 11 right now. You have to pay. You want to record, you want transcripts, you want all of these things. That's why we kind of had to experiment with so many tools, and I know it was a bit of a problematic period for everyone. But I mean, with the way that everyone just jumped in, it was like, okay, no, this is what we're using. Cool, I love it, and this is what we're going to use. And even when clients complain, something like, wait, I've never heard of this platform before. Like we use I mean, let's get a sponsor for this later on. But sessions, right? That's what we use right now, and for them also, the clients have never heard of this. But then for us, it was like a lot of trial and error, and then we finally settled on that. And it's kind of worked well because you get so many different features, right? And that helps with communication because you can't just communicate with text. Like WhatsApp is limited, very limited. Like imagine, I mean, even to plan this trip that we're on, imagine the number of messages that was there, and then who wants what flights, what seats, all of these things. Like you can't just do that on WhatsApp.
Yep.
And so that becomes a challenge because everyone communicates differently also. And at least for me, that's been something that I've learned because I know how I communicate. I know how I like to be communicated with. But then as someone who is like looking after a lot of things, I have to learn that not everyone is like me, and I can't expect everyone to be where they are, where I am rather, or to be like me. In fact, if everyone was like me, the world would be a very, very boring place, and I wouldn't want to work with me. But so even learning that, like for us also getting that rapport going, the fact that I'm talking to you right now, it would not have happened like a few months back.
Right.
So that's been slightly challenging, but for me, it's tools that have helped.
Yep.
But it's also understanding human psychology in many ways. But I don't know what your coping mechanism was.
For me, it was, I mean, of course, efficiency is the paramount. And to reach that efficiency, we lose a lot of time in between. But once the processes are set, we are good to go. Like carrying forward the example of sessions, we have the transcript feature where I can just go back and even if I miss something, I can just go back to the transcript and quickly catch up with what was being said in the meeting. So even if I zone out, like it happens, so I can just go back and like make sure that, oh, I heard this correctly.
Yeah.
Even
Especially when a client is going on and on about something, right? Like, dude, half an hour, let's stick to half an hour. 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And then it's like, I have no idea what was spoken about in the last, 30, 40 minutes.
Yep.
And then suddenly like, oh, let's scroll through transcript, let's figure it out.
Yep. Even for that, like we have the agenda feature there. So we can, instead of having an agenda, then send like 30 emails, we can just have that embedded with the call and we can just share the whole call with them and they are seeing the agenda as well. That's super neat.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for bringing up agendas because that's been a huge learning experience for me. I had never made agendas the way that we do right now. Like, figuring out what points to discuss, then what points to review. Because for us, review is a big thing, right? Like sending files because we are not, sure, we have control, we have creative control over, we are the decision makers. But at the end of the day, the final choice is still the client's. And when you don't have agendas and when you're not reviewing things on the go, because it's not like you're in an office where you can just call somebody, hey, look at this. You can't do that with the client. And then you send on WhatsApp, they'll be like, oh, the color looks slightly different, low resolution and all of that. So that becomes slightly challenging. So then when you review it on a call with them, watch it with them. Dude, I don't know what you that. That's scary for me sometimes. Not seeing their reaction because sometimes when you share a screen, you don't see the reaction, and then you're like, "Oh, what are they thinking?" So that helps with the agendas and just having those kind of points all laid out properly. And then the next steps, dude, that's been super helpful for me. Just note that down. Make that clear. Like this is exactly what we're working on, and by when. Yep. Like deadlines, dude. I don't want to start on that. But that's been something that's important also because if you don't have timelines in place, if you don't have processes and proper things, like for every project, we have phases, and if you don't have phases, you don't know what you're doing and what the objective of that is. At least, and it's different for different things. Like if it's audio, you have to deal with it differently. If it's video, you have to deal with it differently. Graphics, you have to deal with it differently. You can't expect everything to be dealt with the same way. Like web UI UX is different. The development side of things is different, and then the handoff, client education part. Which for us, that's a big thing. We educate our clients. It's not like, oh, we know it, just trust me, bro. It's not like that, you know.
Trust
It's
me,
not
bro.
it's not just that, because you can't expect that of a client. It's their right to know things also. It's their right to ask questions of you. And so sometimes I like initially it's like, no, I know what I'm doing. Why are you questioning me? You have to let go of that ego. I mean, yesterday Cyril and I were just talking about this, right? You do get reality checks very often. And sometimes when you get reality checks, it's like after the meeting, it's like, dude, I just want to lock myself in the washroom. And then, you know, I hope it rains so no one notices what's happening in my eyes, kind of that way. But yeah, but that's a good learning experience. It helps you grow. But thanks to you guys, I mean, you guys really make it really easy. It is challenging, I'm not going to deny that, but just with the team that we
Yes.
currently have. Because, you know, we've worked with other people who it didn't work out, right? And that's fine. They're on a different path in life. But that's why we are here today, and everyone's having a good time, everyone's gelling well together, and that really helps. It makes my job easier. The only thing is I should not become lazy.
Yeah.
But
I think the other thing that makes our jobs easier is information, like access to information, and of course documentation, proper documentation. So now we have a lot of tools that we use. We use a tool called Blue to manage our tasks in different calendars or the Kanban view,
yeah,
and then we have the wiki of the project, each separately. So these things, and so that everyone is on the same page. That is very important in remote work, because you don't want to call each other up every 5 minutes and ask, dude, where is this file, or how do I do a certain task, like what is the workflow for this, I'm not sure. So documentation is really important when you're working remotely, more than ever, because it's to not just save your own time but to save someone else's time, so that the team is faster, efficient, and everyone is happy in the end. No one is annoyed.
Yeah, true. And you can't, and it also comes down to caring about the other person. Like, I need to care about my teammates so that I do what makes their life easier. Not just what, if I'm just looking at what makes my life easier, I'll just send it on WhatsApp. I mean, big deal. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. But if you care about your teammate, if you want their life to be easier, you want to be friends with them as well. And that makes a big difference. You will start doing things differently. You'll start thinking about things differently. Like, I think you do this thing very well, where you actually spend time with people, getting to know them, and you've stopped me very often. Like, when I get impatient, you're like, no, just give them time. They'll figure it out. They'll learn. They'll get there. And even with the tools, like, I can't expect everyone to just know the tools or have the same outlook with the tools that we do, because we've been using it for a long time.
Right.
Or not just tools, it's even platforms like social media. Like, sometimes you'll get some messages on Instagram from someone. It's like, why are you messaging me about work on Instagram? Or why are you messaging me about something that you could have emailed me about? Or you know that a call is not required, yet you're asking for a call. So everyone communicates differently, and that's been my biggest thing. I hate calls, dude. Like, I still do, but that's been something that I've learned. Okay, some people like calls. All right, let's be there for them.
Take a deep breath and just go with it.
Yeah, because I want their life to be easier. Like, it's not about me. There's no I in team. Yeah. So that it comes down to that. Like, care about the team. You care about your craft. You care about you growing as well. And yeah, that's why I mean, I really appreciate. I'm really grateful that God brought everyone together. It's been like so nice to work together. But the challenges have been positive at the end of the day. It's been things that have helped us learn and grow and do better work. Because I think alone, like, I mean, you've seen the way that I work. It wouldn't have happened and you also wouldn't have gotten to where you are today if it wasn't for everyone pitching in together.
No, the kind of work that we are doing and the quality that we are bringing out, it is only possible if there is a creative input. Otherwise, you think that you know everything, but then when there's a other person with a different idea, and it suddenly a light clicks, it's like, oh, I could do this, and that improves like layers and layers and layers. It improves the quality of your work, and I guess that's why teams are also important. No, you can't do, even if you can do some certain things alone, you should try doing teamwork. Like, it's a different experience, and the product is, of course, very, very different.
Yeah, in the feedback process, right? Sometimes people will just send you stuff separately. Like, okay, and what do you think of this? But then you tell them to send it on the group. Get other people's perspective. See what they think. Maybe you're missing out on something. And the best people to give you feedback are people who don't understand what you do.
Correct.
Right?
So, like, they are only experiencing it. They are not going into other technicalities of it.
So if it's a video thing, get stuff from someone who doesn't understand visuals, because they are the target audience at the end of the day. It needs to be so simple that anyone can pick it up. Because we overcomplicate things very often, and that happens very often in remote work also.
Yeah.
It's like I'm overcomplicating the communication part. I'm overcomplicating the process part of it. No, let's simplify it.
Yeah.
And ensure that everyone is on the same page. Everyone has the same mindset at the end of the day. That matters, right? Tools definitely help, but I think it boils down to people at the end of the day. Like, tools can only take you so far. Like, you've got tools which like multi-million-dollar companies use. We don't, but they wouldn't work either if it wasn't for the people behind them, and the people actually caring about the other person who is on the other end of the screen, right? And seeing people for the first time in 3D is a very different experience also. So you wouldn't want that if you don't care about them.
Yeah. Like this point is also important, especially for person who is new to the team or new to the remote working experience as well. Because pre-pandemic remote work was a novelty, and now it's the norm. So the way it has happened is too fast, and people are still coping with even the procedures and the effects both. Like I read this article, I think it's on WePresent, which is a magazine started by WeTransfer.
Okay.
So they had this article about how remote working affects the whole concept of working for an individual,
Right.
especially for a person who just graduated and just starting working in an agency or some company. And the onboarding process, no matter how easy the managers might make it for the person to be comfortable, till you don't know how the other person is in off camera.
Right.
You don't know like what they would like to, what offends them, what doesn't work with them, or how to approach them, or when to approach them. So all of this causes some tension, and more importantly anxiety in yourself. And then when the work is not good, of course the reviews are going to be bad.
Right.
And then you don't think about anything else. You start thinking about, oh, my work is bad.
Yeah.
And that causes lot of tension, lot of anxiety.
And for a lot of us, what added to that was, this was the first time some of us were working together as a team, or a lot of us were working as freelancers or working on a project basis. And then suddenly when you have to work together as a team, then it's like, okay, I need to figure out two things, not just working as a team, but also working remotely, and how to figure that out. There's like two different angles that I have to figure out. But that's also why I think something like this, like why we are here, right? That makes such a big difference. Because we've not met so many of our teammates. We've been working together for more than a year, I think, at this point. And we've not met so many people. And then it's so nice. It's a different experience meeting together in person. And that's the thing. I think you were pointing out an article earlier which said that it's important. Physical, like in-person meetings are very important as well. Like you can only know so much, and you can only do so much behind a screen.
Yeah.
But if you don't actually make the time and effort to meet up, and so it was so important for us that, okay, we've almost finished a year now. We should meet up. We should come to a place without Wi-Fi.
Without Wi-Fi, because technology connects people, but sometimes we should connect without technology.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, we've not done any work over the last, I mean, not that we're lazy. We've just not focused on, and we focused rather on not doing any work over the last few days. And just on getting to know each other, spending time with one another, and learning from one another. I think that's a big thing, right? Because otherwise, remote work is like, acha, ye kya kuch bhi bol raha hai bhai? Or, I don't care what you say sometimes. But then when you get to know the other person, why they're saying what they're saying, and that happens in person more than online. And that's also why we wanted to even start all of this, right? It's we are learning stuff, and we've come across people who we need to help, or sometimes they ask for help and they reach out and things like that. And so let's create something that helps all of us. I mean, we are learning through doing this as well. I would never have done this if you weren't there, if everyone wasn't here. And so that helps, having the team meeting in person. I don't think we would have started this online.
Yeah.
Right? And without proper planning, without proper execution. I mean, we're executing it, but without overthinking it, because we overthink things sometimes.
Yeah.
And even coming here, right, it was just like, okay, November, book tickets, ensure that all of your work is done, or ensure that you inform the clients that we're only coming back next week. That's it. Right?
No emails for a week.
Yeah, no emails, no WhatsApp, no calls for a week. We'll pick it up once you come back. I think clients appreciate that also. They realize that you care, right? You're not just another agency, you're not just another team that's just there for this heck of it. You care about what you do, care about the output, you care about the people, you care about them.
Yeah.
And that makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more episodes we're going to have. We'll try and we'll introduce everyone else to the rest of the team, and all of the different talents that everyone has, because I was blown away by the talents that some people have. Like, I didn't know, and that's been such an eye opener in many ways. So no pressure, Shubham, but hopefully we keep this going. We'll see how far we go.
Yep.
Yeah. But for now, do tune in next time. We'll have a lot more coming. We might go remote at some point soon, probably.
Yeah.
You're not going to always see this, but we'll be there. Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe, follow, all of these things. You know the jazz. Links somewhere else in the description as usual. We can share the articles that you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Yes, so that will help.
In the description.
Yeah. No affiliate links yet. Soon.
Thanks.
Shake hands. Let's be awkward, bro. Thanks.
Pleasure doing business.